Well, those were last week's announcements. So there's no Chinese New Year tonight. But if you were here last week, you got to see Chinese New Year. And we had about 150 people that showed up to celebrate Chinese New Year with us. Audrey, I think we have a picture that she can show us. That's Pastor Shi and his wife, Miss Lee, on this side. They are from the Chinese Church of Jackson, and they came and spoke, and they made dumplings for us. It was absolutely amazing. If you weren't here, you missed probably the best food in Rankin County last Sunday night. It was absolutely amazing. And so thank you for the opportunity, and I do want to point out, Audrey, everybody turn around, Audrey, wave your hand. Audrey and Melissa, back there, wave your, okay. Audrey and Melissa did all of that. They put all of that on. They organized all of that because Audrey has a passion. They have a passion for Chinese and international people. We say all the time at Journey that we want people to take the thing that you are interested in, that you are passionate about, and let's together find a way to reach and connect with people that need to find and follow Jesus. And that's what they did. They found something they were passionate about, and we put some resources behind it, and they connected with a whole group of people that don't normally come to church here on Sunday morning, and it was absolutely amazing. So I want to brag on them. Y'all give them a round of applause. So today we're going to wrap up our series, I'm In. But first I need to say, welcome back, hunters. Hunting season ended on Friday, and I know you woke up this morning, it was still, there was frost on the ground, and all of you went, man, I should be out there and stand right now, dang, shoot, man, this is good old prime hunting weather. And all the deers are out there prancing around like, la, 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 you know. Welcome back. We're so glad that you're here. And so we're in this series, I'm In, and we're going to wrap it up today. So let's review. We've been in it 4 weeks. The first week we said, I'm invited. We all have an invitation to be a part of God's family. We all have an invitation to be a part of God's plan on the timeline of eternity. The second week we looked at the powerful truth that I'm invaluable. Think about that for just a minute. You have an immense amount of value to the God of the universe. He created you, and He thought so much about you. At this moment, He looked at you and goes, I need that one now. And He put you here at this specific point in time with a plan and for a purpose. Week 3, last week, we looked at the idea that I'm influential. We said I'm salt and I'm light in the earth. Salt is a preservative. It's something that enhances the flavor. Salt and light that illuminates the way. We are influential. We all have people that we influence with our life. We all are going to go to work tomorrow, and we're going to be around a bunch of people that aren't in church this morning. How are you influencing them to find and follow Jesus? Now, we've said before, it's probably not a good idea to take your giant King Jimmy Bible that's sitting on the coffee table at home, the size of a Toyota Corolla, and take it to work and start just pounding people on the forehead, right? You may have a coworker or two that would work on, like you're thinking of them right now, like Debbie in accounting, it just, you know. But that's probably not the best way to influence people to Jesus. So this week I want to show you that through the power of God, that you can be invested in the work of God, in His church, for the community and for the world. Now I know immediately what you're thinking. He said invested. It's one of them church talks. And you know them church people. All them church people wants my money, right? This is not a money talk. Okay, Pastor Jason just said it just a minute ago. You can be invested in the kingdom of God with your life. It's not just a money thing. Should you invest financially in what God does? Absolutely, the Bible says that. But you also need to be investing your time and your talents to reach people with the gospel of Jesus that I can't do. Audrey and Melissa invested a bunch of time to have those people come here and find a place to connect. Pastor Shi and his wife Lee presented the gospel. while we ate egg rolls and lo mein. The Spirit was here. Put some soy sauce on that stuff, and you're just like, yes! But they invested their life into that. And some of you can think, well, I'm not really all that invested in God and His church. Maybe not. But you're invested somewhere. Like there's something that you do that you are passionate about. You are invested in something. If you went and bought some season tickets to a professional football team, I wish there were some good ones within driving distance of us here, but there's... Anyway, okay. If you bought season tickets, you're going to go to the game if it's 102 or if it's -3, right? Guys, if you go pay money for a hunting lease, it could be the worst hunting season ever, like this year, and you're still going to go because you've invested in the dirt to sit there and hopefully shoot a deer. You've invested in it, and so you're going to put your life in that direction. We're all invested in something. Why does it matter? Because your heart follows your investment. Your heart follows your investment. I think we can show that to you up here maybe. There you go. Your heart follows your investment. Let me illustrate it this way. You're having a big game party. I can't say the name of it because that's a strike against us on Facebook, okay? But you're having a big game today. Just imagine there's a football game going on tonight, and you're having people, maybe not, you're having people come to your house, and they're going to watch this big game on your television, and you've got all the snacks and the salsa and the nacho cheese, yes, Lord, and you've got plenty of Dr. Pepper to invite your pastor over because, you know, that's just something I got to have. And so you invite people over to your house, and let's say we just all go like veg out on your couch and watch the game. You're going to invite us in. We're going to eat chips and dips and leftover egg rolls from last Sunday night, and we're just going to have a big time watching the football game. What happens if you have a brand new couch? Welcome to our home. The food should stay in the kitchen. Please put your beverages on a coaster. Set them here. Please don't sit on the couch, right? Like if you go buy a new couch, what's the first thing you do? You wrap your kids in saran wrap and threaten their life to not get close to the new sofa. Why? Because I've invested in the sofa. I put money in this sofa. You're not going to destroy it, right? Like I'm invested in it. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to value it. I like that sofa. It's going to have it for years. How many of you have said that? Like you buy a new car and you're like, we're not going to eat in here. 3 weeks later, there's like soda in places that you cannot clean. You know, I mean, it's just, we're not going to eat on this. We're not going to wear our shoes on our new carpet. Womp womp. Yeah, that lasts about 3 or 4 weeks, and then somebody traipses through the house, or you let the dog in, and there's grass everywhere, and then poof, it's over. But when you're invested in something, you put value in it, you want to take care of it. We're all invested in something. But the problem is, at least for me, you're all more spiritual than I am, and that's not a question, that's a statement. It's easy to be invested in things that don't matter. Like it's easy to be invested in your image. It's easy to be invested in a career. It's easy to be invested in wanting to take the next step in life, and we miss investing in things that really, truly matter. Part of the, I'm not going to say unfortunate, but part of being a pastor, somebody that works at a church, is you get to go visit people in the hospital. And usually when you're in the hospital, it's not a good thing, right? I mean, unless you've had a baby or something like that, you know. But for the most part, you go and you talk to somebody at a hospital, and a lot of times they want to talk to you about the things they wish they would have done. And you know, I've never sat beside somebody's hospital bed and had them say to me, I wish I would have given more effort to my job. I wish I would have spent more time playing t-ball. I wish I would have spent more time perfecting my cupcake recipe. Everybody says, I wish I would have invested more in people, right? I wish I would have done more with my family. I wish I would have hung out with my kids more. I wish I would have served more. I wish I would have volunteered more. I wish I would have helped more. But what are they saying? I wish I would have invested my life. I wish I would have invested my influence somewhere in something that matters. We have the opportunity to be invested in God's work. Look what Matthew 6, verse 19 says. It says this, do not store up. Say store up. Do not store up, or don't store up, treasures here on earth where moths eat them and rust destroys them and where thieves break in and steal. Basically, don't hoard what you have. Anybody watch that Hoarders show on TV? Just me. I'm the only weirdo in the room. Okay, awesome. I like to watch an episode of Hoarders. Like if I'm unmotivated, I'll watch an episode of Hoarders, and then you could eat off of the toilet seat in our house after that episode. Because I watch that episode, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be like that. And I just go scrubbing and like scraping and bleaching everything in the house because I just go crazy the other direction. Hoarders makes me nuts. All the people, they just store stuff. They just keep, oh, I'm going to use that one day. Well, what do you need 7,000 Walmart bags for? And you're laughing because some of you have 6,500 right now. Like, you know, you open the door into the sink and it's like, you know, everywhere. They just store stuff. Here's the takeaway today. You ready? God created us to pour and not store. God created us to pour our life, to pour our ability, to pour our influence, to pour the things that matter to us into others. Jesus said it this way. He said, it's more blessed to give than receive. In other words, God created us to pour, not to store. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because God wants our obedience. And I talk to so many Christ followers all the time, so many believers that are like, you know, I used to have a real good relationship with God, but now it seems like God's gone quiet. Maybe you've lived there. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's you now, or it's been you in the past. And so many times it comes back to, God told me to do something and I didn't do it. I was disobedient about this one. Now we won't say it that way, right? But we were disobedient. There are so many times in my journey, because for those of you that don't know, I mow grass some. And there would be times where I would have a large bit, and I felt like God was like, okay, it's time to move on. It's time to get rid of that and whatever. And then I would be like, no, God, okay, look, God, if I could just mow grass for like 6 more weeks, do you know how much more money that, you know, if I could just do for 6 more, I could just hold on, I would just be disobedient. Do you know that I broke like $9,000 worth of glass in a 2-week period one time? God said, I want you to stop. I want you to get out of that. And I was like, no, God, but wait. I was disobedient. God was like, okay, fine. You think you're going to make X number of dollars. It's going to cost you to keep walking in disobedience. The 3rd window I broke, I was like, that's it, God, okay, I'm out. We shouldn't have to get to that point where God like has to bust us upside with a hammer before we're willing to be obedient. God created us to pour and not store. The good news is, I believe most of us, we want to be givers. Imagine just for a moment, if you were Bill Gates and you had access to all of his influence, if you could not have those annoying pop-ups come up on your Microsoft Word document every time you open it that says, you know, your subscription is expired. Or, you know, if you were Bill Gates and you had all of his influence and all of his money, where would you invest it? I mean, something immediately came into your mind. You're passionate about something. Why can't you start doing that now? You say, well, I'm not Bill Gates. Well, fine. Don't be Bill Gates. Be you. And invest your life, your influence, your finances, your money in things that matter most. But the truth of the matter is, we all want the joy of making a difference, but a lot of us, we don't know where to start. Have you ever given something to somebody? Have you ever helped somebody in a small group, or you know, there's been a need at somebody at your work and you put a little fund together and you met that need, or there was just something going on and you gave to the Red Cross, or you helped somebody whose house burned. Like, what does that do to the inside of you? Man, it wells up with joy, doesn't it? Like that feeling on the inside that I got to do something for somebody else. People have wonderful giving stories. Nobody has great consuming stories, right? You go to the mall and you buy something, that feeling only lasts for just a second. You get that new, I'm not even going to say a brand because I'll embarrass myself because I don't even know, right? You go to Harbor Freight, guys, whoop, whoop, and you get that new 8-pound dead blow hammer that's hot neon orange, and you're like, yeah! You get home and you bust something up with it, and then you're like, whatever, old news. And then you move on. We don't have great consuming stories, but we've all got great generosity and giving stories. Maybe additionally, you help somebody in your journey group through a tough time, and we mentioned journey groups a while ago. Just a second, pull out your sheet that has the journey groups on it. It looks like this, about yay long. Everybody pull it out. I'm going to give you the official journey group in service, okay? Here's the rule with journey groups. You go to a group, you don't like it, you go to another one, okay? Nobody gets their feelings hurt. Nobody gets offended. You can go to a group. You cannot like people. It's okay, right? Go to a group. You try. They're listed on here. There's a group that meets over here in the conference room at 8:30, and you're like, I don't wake up at before 9:45 to be at church at 10. Fine, but there's one for 8:30. If you wake up at 4 o'clock like I do, you could do that. Most of the other groups meet right after church. The Practical Christian group meets in that room right there. That's Finding Your Way. This is Practical Christian right there. The young adults meet in the conference room. Family Strong out there. Students back here. Miss Kate is crushing it for Adventure Time in the second hour. They are doing some totally different things over there for kids, and so it's not just babysitting. They're doing groups. It's amazing. Why do I tell you that? Because if you really want to be cared for and you really want to be in the people that are on the journey together, you need to get in a group, right? Oh, the ladies group. How did they not make this list? I've remade the card. The ladies group are doing the Casey Van Norman study in the room right up there up top. So if you're a lady and you want to do that, guys, single guys, you cannot go to the ladies group because I already had somebody ask, okay? God created us to pour and not store. And the reason I think that when you talk about generosity at church sometimes, the reason I think some people get so offended is because we really want to give, we want to invest, we want to do something with our life that matters, and we don't know where to start. And I think the reason for that is because we have a scarcity mindset. So there's two types of mindsets when it comes to generosity, when it comes to investing your life. There's a scarcity mindset that says there'll never be enough. I'll never have enough to be able to do that. I'll never be Bill Gates, and so therefore I'll never be able to give like he does. I'll never be able to invest my life like he does. I'll never be able to do that kind of thing. There's only one pie, and if you get a slice of the pie, that means my slice of the pie is smaller, right? And then there's the abundance mindset that says if I give you a slice of this pie, we can make another pie. There's always more pie. Because the good thing about following Jesus is we know that he owns everything. And so there's no shortage in God. There's no inability to provide when it comes to God. In fact, Jesus told a parable that had this very mindset. So if you have your Bible, Luke chapter 12. We're going to be Luke 12, John 12. Luke 12. Excuse me. Y'all hang on a second. I think I have the Delta cred in central Mississippi. Luke 12, verse 16. This is Jesus. He's telling a story. Then he told them a story. A rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. He said to himself, what should I do? I don't have any room for all of my crops, which is what we all say when we get paid, right? The paycheck comes in and we're like, whoa, I'm going to need a second bank to hold all of our money. We can totally identify with this guy. Then he said, I know, I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I'll have room enough to store all of my wheat and other goods. Verse 19. And I'll sit back and I'll say to myself, self, my friend, you have enough stored away for years. Now take it easy, eat, drink, and be merry. Verse 20. But God said to him, you fool, you will die this very night. then who will get everything that you worked for? Verse 21. Yes, a person is a fool to what? To store up earthly wealth, but not rich towards God. Man, you have a talent. You have an ability. You have an awesome set of gifts. You have an amazing amount of influence. Where are you investing your life? Are you investing it in something that matters? Or are you investing in something that's here today and will be gone tomorrow? God created us to pour and not store. So whenever we start with a scarcity mindset, we're always driven by fear. I'll never have enough time. I'll never have enough influence. I'll never have enough money. I'll never have enough, you fill in the blank. But when we start with an abundance mindset, where we look and say, you know what, God's given me all the influence I have. I can constantly give influence away because God will give me more. That's the whole biblical terminology of stewardship. God gives to us, we give away, God gives more to us. And if you've ever been a giver, if you've ever been generous in any way in life, finances, with your time, with your ability, with your whatever, if you've ever been generous, here's what you learn. You cannot give it away fast enough. Because the more you pour into others, the more God will pour into you. Because God looks at your life and goes, hey, I found somebody. I found a willing vessel. I found somebody who looks at their life and goes, hey, it's not all about me. It's about what I can do to help others. Now, am I suggesting that you live in a van down by the river? No. You're Saturday Night Live fans, okay? You get my reference, all right. But it's okay to live in a house and drive a car and all those fancy things. But when it's more about you than it is about what God has put inside of you, we miss it. There was a woman in the Bible who lived a very dark life, who encountered the power and the grace of Jesus, and she lived with an abundant mindset. If you were here the first week when we broke open the idea of the I'm In series, we talked about this lady. And she was a prostitute. And somewhere along her journey, she found freedom and forgiveness in Jesus. And then this prostitute found out that Jesus was going to be at a party. And so she decides she's going to sneak into the party. She was one of the original party crashers. She goes in, she crashes the party. She takes this box of perfume and she breaks it open on Jesus' feet. You remember we talked about that if you were here. If not, you can go back and watch it on Facebook. It was really a good talk. I'll pat myself on the back. She poured her most valuable possession on the feet of Jesus. And she was thinking, if he's good enough to forgive me, he's powerful enough to provide for me. Listen, don't let your faith stop short. If you can believe that God forgives you, you ought to equally be able to believe that God will provide for you. Don't hold on to everything that you have like it's the only thing you have. Hold on to Jesus like he's all you got because he's all you need. And when you do that, the rest of it, I promise you, will work itself out. But in the story of the lady that goes in and breaks the box of expensive perfume on the feet of Jesus, there's another guy in the story. His name was Judas. You remember Judas? You know, Judas is the one that betrayed Jesus. Judas didn't have an abundance mindset at all. Judas had a scarcity mindset. So this lady comes in, she breaks the box on Jesus' feet, and it represented her entire, nest egg. It represented everything that she had. It represented her future, and she broke it on the feet of Jesus. And with this woman who was completely forgiven, she was transformed by Jesus. She had no other resource to worship Jesus, and she took it and she broke it and she poured it out on Jesus. Judas, that thing welled up on the inside of him. We all know what we're talking about, right? Because if you're married to somebody who's exactly the opposite of you. In our house, I'm not the generous one. If you want to sell me something, you better go talk to my wife. If your kid's selling candy bars for school, go talk to her, not to me. Okay? I'm not generous. I'm cheap, right? I'm cheap. I'm cheap. And Judas was the same way. And whenever Stacy's like, hey, I think we should give. I think we should invest in this, or I think we should, give something to somebody. My first response, no. They can do it themselves, right? So if you're that person, if you're the me in the relationship in the room, you know that like knot in the gut, right? The gut check we're talking about. And Judas has that just knot in his stomach. She pours out this oil on the feet of Jesus, and Judas's stomach just goes up in a knot. He's like, no! John 12, verse 3. Here we go. Then Mary took a 12-ounce jar of expensive perfume made of the essence of nard. I laugh. And she anointed Jesus' feet with it, wiping his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance. Verse 4. But Judas Iscariot, the disciple who would soon betray him, said, that perfume was worth a year's wages. It should have been sold and the money given to the poor. Translation, we don't have enough money to worship Jesus like that. I can't be obedient. I can't give my time. I don't have enough. I can't give my influence. If I call in some favors, then I'm out of favors. I can't give financially to that because if I do, there's less of the pie for me. It's exactly what Judas said. We don't have enough to be that generous. Say, I'm invested. I'm invested in the work of God. Where are you using your influence? Where are you investing your life? Where are you investing the things that you are good at so that other people can find and follow Jesus? I'm going to close with this. Over in the Old Testament, in the book of Malachi. Malachi 3:10, it says this, and maybe you've read this verse, and maybe you grew up in a church that used these verses just to beat people over the head, but I want to show you something that I discovered this week that it changed my mindset. Are you ready? Malachi 3:10. And Malachi is writing to a group of people that in the super Jesus, early Christian days, right? In the earliest church, he talks about their worship, how it was corrupted, and he works on fixing it. He talks about their moral behavior, and he works on telling them how to change it. And he talked about their wrong use of resources, and he goes to correct it. He says this, Malachi 3:10, bring all the tithes into the storehouse so there will be enough food in my house. And you read that, and as a young Christian, as I started following Jesus, I read this, I was like, whoa, God. Like, I'm just a college kid. I'm just mowing yards, trying to pay the thing. I'm trying to do this, and now later in life, you got 3 kids, and you're like, hey, they got to have this, and they got to have that, and they got to do this, and there's all of these things, and they come up with all these reasons, and God says, you want me to give like a tenth of what I have back to you? And God goes, yeah. And maybe this part isn't for you. Why do I say that? Maybe you're not at this part in your journey yet. Are you with me? Say yes. But this is where we all want to be. Because this is what God says, because this is how he designed it to work. So check it out. Bring all the tithes in the storehouse so there will be enough food in my house. It takes resources to make the kingdom happen. And God blesses us when we're obedient, and so it's a win-win. But he continues, bring all the tithes in the storehouse, there will be enough food in my temple. If you do, he says, the Lord of heaven's army, I will open the windows of heaven, and I will what? I will pour. We were created to pour, not to store. And God says when we give of the things that he has given to us, when we are faithful to pour them into others, he then pours them into us. And I will pour out a blessing so great that you won't have enough room to take it in. You're not going to have enough room to store it all. Because God looks at our life and goes, hey, there's a willing vessel. I can use them. There's somebody right there that is into video games. Did you know that God could use your influence of video games to reach people for Jesus? What would happen happen if you invested your life, your resources, those things that God has equipped you with? What would happen if you invested them in something that mattered for eternity? God promises that when we do, He'll pour into us. He'll give you more influence, more resources, more ability, more open doors to do the thing that He has equipped you to do. Are you with me? Say yes. I love this because I know you. You are talented, gifted, amazing people. What would happen if we just downloaded in our life that God created us to pour and not just to hoard it all in?